The Secrets of Middle-earth is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
You're listening to The Secrets of Middle-earth, where we discuss the hidden themes and deeper layers found in the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, whether in his writings or in any of the media derived from them. I'm your host, Thomas Salerno, and joining me on the podcast this time is Rob Leonardi. Hello, Rob.
Hey, Thomas.
And also Robert Story. Hello, Robert.
Hello there.
And Father Bryan Shackett. Hello, Father Bryan.
Hey, Thomas.
All right. Well, this time out, we are journeying a little bit from the banks of the main stream of the Tolkien legendarium into some of the professor's other works. We are discussing the short, well, is it really short? Kind of, we'll find out. But the short story, Roverandom. Well, Roverandom has an interesting story, which I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, first, if you haven't read Roverandom yet, just go and read it, because we are going to spoil everything. Spoiler alert, we're going to analyze, everything, the insane amount of stuff that happens in this story. And
spoiler alert, set aside some time to read it. It's longer than you think.
It's longer than you think, and quite a bit happens. Like, I'm looking at my summary here that I'm about to read, and, well, it is quite lengthy, so let me just get into it now. Roverandom is about Rover, a little dog, a puppy, if you will, who enjoys playing in the garden with a yellow ball. One day, the wizard Artaxerxes stops by and picks up Rover's ball, thinking of doing something nice for him. Rover, however, barks at him and put the ball down, never thinking to say the magic word please. Amused by Rover's rudeness, Artaxerxes teases him until Rover bites the wizard's trousers, tearing off a piece. As punishment, Artaxerxes magically turns Rover into a little toy dog. Awakening in a toy shop, Rover is able to move only slightly when Andy wasn't looking. I mean, when Little Boy 2 wasn't looking. Not Andy, different universe. Until after midnight. Is it? Yeah. Sold for a 6 pence, or about $10 after the inflation the government has caused, for you Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World fans out there. A mother brought Rover home for her little boy, known as Little Boy 2. Much to Rover's chagrin, the boy treats him like an ordinary toy, while Rover longs to become a real dog again. Like a canine Pinocchio, I guess. The next day, Little Boy 2 takes Rover to the beach, where a bird causes Rover to tumble from the boy's pocket and onto the sand. As the tide rolls in, Rover regains the ability to run and bark, though he and his bark remain the size of a toy. There he meets the sand sorcerer, Samathos Samathides, or something like that.
Good job.
Although Samathos takes a liking to Rover, he refuses to undo another wizard's spell. Instead, he sends Rover to the moon, aboard the seagull postman, Mew. On the moon, Rover is welcomed by the man in the moon and his own dog, also named Rover. To avoid confusion, the man in the moon renames the newcomer Roverandom. The dogs share wondrous adventures, including accidentally waking a white dragon, forcing the man in the moon to rescue them. Later, Roverandom visits the dark side of the moon, where he enters the dreams of Little Boy 2, and for one magical night, the boy finally gets to play with Rover as though he were a real dog. Hoping to make that dream come true for good, Roverandom asks to return home. Back at the beach, the wizard Samathos explains that the spell can only be truly broken if Rover apologizes to Artaxerxes. Unfortunately, that wizard has since married the mermaid Princess Pam, and now serves as the Pacific and Atlantic magician beneath the sea. Samathos arranges for the passage for Roverandom aboard the great whale Uin. Beneath the sea, Roverandom meets Princess Pam, Artaxerxes, and their sea dog, also named, you guessed it, Rover. While waiting for an audience with the busy wizard, Roverandom is temporarily transformed into a sea dog so that he can explore the undersea kingdom with his new companion, including seeing the elven land of Valinor from afar. More on that later. Their adventures culminate in the accidental awakening of a great sea serpent, forcing Artaxerxes to calm both the monster and the angry merfolk. Finally, able to apologize to Artaxerxes, Roverandom accompanies the wizard and Princess Pam back to the world above the sea, where Artaxerxes restores him to his proper size. Following his nose, Roverandom returns to the very garden where the story all began and finds Little Boy 2 playing with his yellow ball. In a delightful surprise, Rover discovers that he had belonged to the boy's grandmother all along. Although the grandmother still thinks of him as Rover, Little Boy 2 insists that the man in the moon was right. His name is Roverandom. Oh boy, that is a lot.
It is such a longer book than you actually think it is.
Yeah. And even like it's collected these days often in the Tales from the Perilous Realm anthology, and takes up quite a bit of that book. Yeah. So I want to know your guys' initial thoughts and how you discovered Roverandom or read it for the first time. Rob, Leonardi, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I picked up the Tales from the Perilous Realm, I think because I heard Roverandom somewhere. I think it might have been on this podcast, but I'm not 100% sure. But I picked it up and decided to read it along with the Farmer Giles of Ham, Leaf by Niggle, all of the wonderful adventures in here. But I loved this story particularly, and really touching like my father's heart, like myself as a father, because of how this story came to be. And it just shows how good of a father Tolkien really was to care for his children.
Yeah, and I'll get into that a little bit later. The story behind this book is pretty incredible. Robert Story, what about you? What do you think of Roverandom?
God, I don't even remember when I was first introduced to it. If I had to take a guess, it was probably in the library being like, a new Tolkien book, done. Hey, there's a book, there's stuff in here. Okay, so we know The Hobbit like started off as like a bedtime story to, I think, Christopher. And as long as this story goes on, it kind of makes me feel like this must have been I started to tell this story to explain spoilers. And I'm sure he finished it, and then the next night Christopher was like, and then what happened? And you can almost see where Tolkien goes, and then he went to the moon. And like, it's such a long story. Like it's divided into 5 like chapters, and they're old English chapters, so each chapter is basically its own short story. This must have been like he spent like a week consoling Christopher over like
Michael.
No, it's okay. Oh, it was Michael.
Yeah, it was Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
I think Christopher
got the Hobbit
at this point. Yeah,
he gets the Hobbit. Michael gets the dog. That seems fair.
Because Michael was Little Boy too.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah,
okay, I can never keep the kids straight.
Yeah, because the boys are John, Michael, Christopher. So yeah,
isn't that order Christopher's the youngest?
Yeah, Christopher. Okay. Well, he's the youngest boy. They have a younger sister, Priscilla.
Yes,
who is the 4th child.
I feel like Priscilla's still alive, but don't quote me on it. Irrelevant. Yeah, it's a fun story. Like this is one of those, like, as you're reading it as a father, you're like, and making a note to read this to my son because he's definitely going to lose a toy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's simple, it's fun, it's loaded with references that only Tolkien could make, and yeah.
to his own unpublished material.
And like unpublished material, old mythology that like maybe 12 people in Britain knew, and he's one of them. Like it's just all over them. And like the worst pun I've ever read.
Oh, which one was that?
He mentions the lobsters being red with rage because they're lobsters. They're already red.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's you're like, oh, Tolkien made dad jokes. Okay, good to know.
Of course. Yeah. So, Father Bryan, what's your history with Roverandom?
Yeah, Roverandom is one of the stories that I admittedly came to much more recently with Tolkien, right? I tended to focus when I was younger, and as I started coming into the Legendarium, more on his Middle-earth works, the more properly focused Middle-earth works. But so it's much more recently, I was reading it, and admittedly, as we were saying, it is longer than you expect it to be initially. But one thing I like about it, can say, and this admittedly is a fondness I have for a lot of the stories like this, these other works of Tolkien that don't necessarily have as one-to-one relation with the rest of the Middle-earth part of the Legendarium, is I love the window you get into both Tolkien's life and how he approaches this and his family, which I think is very beautiful. And it's a side of Tolkien you don't always see if you only look at the Lord of the Rings. It informs Lord of the Rings very beautifully and all the rest of there, but I think it comes out a lot of these areas as well, especially Roverandom at times. But also the notion of fairy, right? The whimsical aspect that is lost in a modern world that I have a great fondness for, if that makes any sense. And I think that does come out in the Roverandom. But just as you went over the story, the whimsical is clearly there. And when you look at when this is written, ultimately, right, and what Tolkien went through is going through that in the historical context, I think the fact he was able to go to that whimsy is beautiful, ultimately, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you look at, he's able to go there despite the fact that all the suffering that clearly happening in Europe at the time, and what's coming in Europe. So I think that's beautiful. Yeah. Shows how he is showing the purpose of fairy and that kind of thing as he speaks elsewhere, of course, right? That's one of the reasons I kind of love Roverandom and other aspects of those tales like this.
Yeah, I also came to Roverandom quite late. I think probably whenever it was that I picked up Tales from the Perilous Realm. And I was just, I was also struck, like, I knew just from reading about Tolkien that he had written this story to console his son. And having gone through a traumatic experience in my early childhood of losing a toy, I was able to connect with that too. And aside, my parents actually went through a pretty insane odyssey to replace my lost toy. It ended up being like, so we live here on Long Island. I guess I had lost the toy in a supermarket or somewhat. It turned out to be a stuffed animal that was no longer being sold by the company. It only existed in like the factories that were still churning out some last few of these toys. My parents drove to the factory in Connecticut to get me a replacement for this toy. And I still have it. I still have the replacement. I never got rid of it.
I don't think you can. Like, I think you have to, like, that's yours now.
It's mine forever, and is well loved. It's all patched up and, like, faded, and its eyes are gonna fall out or whatever. But, like, having experienced that kind of familial love where my parents went through, how would you say, great lengths to replace a toy that I lost, that's pretty amazing. It's one of the reasons why I really, really love Roverandom. But hey, actually, special arrival from Valinor. Pat Mason is joining the discussion. just arrived via...
We already have a Pat. I'm going to call you Rob.
Pat is now Rob now. Hello, Pat Mason.
Hello, Thomas.
Welcome to the discussion. Hey.
I was just gonna
Don't worry, we're just doing... Yeah. Don't worry, we're just doing our intro like, you know, what do we think of Roverandom? Although you didn't have to sit through my extremely lengthy summary that Rob wrote of all the insane stuff that happens
without leaving out any plot important details.
No, yeah.
Well, I don't know. So, like, for this story, you could leave out most of it, and it wouldn't be plot important, or you could include all of it because it is all plot important. I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard judgment.
We can tell the story in one sentence, but you don't understand. It keeps going.
Okay, according to the book, the book sleeve, it says Roverandom is about a toy dog who becomes enchanted by a sand sorcerer. He gets to explore the world and encounter strange and fabulous creatures. There we go.
Okay, you're not wrong.
It's like you're not wrong, but that's also like not doing it any sort of justice. Like,
Not at
The
all.
Lord of the Rings is about a footpath to get rid of a piece of jewelry. Like, I'm not wrong. But
Because they also take a boat somewhere in there.
right. The straight path. So, Pat, where'd you first encounter Roverandom? What do you think of this delightfully insane children's story?
Yeah, I read it. Well, reading's the wrong word. I listened to it being read to me by an Englishman on a recording.
was it the master?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's the same recording that was the Father Christmas letters.
So the
that was the
Derek
master.
Jacobi one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was he not the master in one of the Christmas specials, Professor Yana?
Oh,
I don't know my
sorry.
Who, so
you
I'm the wrong person to
too
ask.
many.
Stop crossing the streams, Robert.
I was like the master. Okay, you're like okay, all right. So time warp. Okay, all right, time warp. All right, got it. That master. Yes,
It's all a connected universe.
it is. And so I listened to that. It's part of a compendium called Tales from the Perilous Realms, and it's the first one.
Yep.
And we listened to that on one of our mini drives to the grandparents' house. The kids liked it, and they liked it even more listening to it again as we drove home from the grandparents' house a couple of days ago.
Boy. Oh, boy.
Preparation. And it's just a fun little tale. It's definitely one of those things you could see, like the Father Christmas letters that Tolkien, probably made for his kids, or you could see him making this for his kids. And it's just a lot of fun.
It is, yeah. In fact, let me just segue into some of the background about this story, because he indeed did write it for his children. So I've sourced this summary here from the excellent website Tolkien Gateway. In early September 1925, the Tolkien family, then John Ronald Tolkien, his wife Edith, and his sons John, Michael, and the 1-year-old Christopher went on holiday to the seaside resort of Filey? I don't know, in Yorkshire. During the holiday, young Michael lost his beloved black and white toy dog on the beach. And although the family searched for it, the toy dog could not be found. To console his son, Tolkien created the story of Roverandom to explain the adventures of the dog. Tolkien wrote the story down based on his own oral version in 1927, and also provided a number of illustrations that have since been published. A few years later, Tolkien submitted Roverandom for publication to George Allen and Unwin in 1936. And although the book was described by publisher Rainer Unwin as well-written and amusing, it was never considered for publication, perhaps as the result of a desire for a sequel to The Hobbit. And it was eventually published in 1998 by HarperCollins. So Yeah, a pretty amazing backstory to this book. And it's just, again, incredible that, like The Hobbit, like the Father Christmas letters, it started out as something, you know, intimately connected with his family, with his own children. And I think that's why, like Father Bryan, what you were saying, how really whimsical and enchanted this story is. It's like that sort of stream of consciousness, dreamlike storytelling quality that a kid's imagination would cook up.
Oh yeah, one thing I love about that is the again, I know I said this a minute ago, but I think it's just so powerful, right? This is 1925, I think you said, right? That's like a handful of years after the ending of World War One.
Yeah.
In which Tolkien fought and lost many of his friends and many of the people he loved, right? In the sufferings of World War One. And despite that experience, he still could go to this whimsy in this land of fairy, basically, when his child had this seemingly minor loss, right? And I gotta just speak. I think that tale, in this kind of, in like a meta way, speaks volumes to who Tolkien is and the beauty of this man and his love of truth. So
and his family.
Amen.
I
Yeah.
find so pretty much everybody who discovers this story is going to find it through Tales from the Perilous Realm. The final entry in that book is the famous essay on fairy stories, where he basically lays out, like, here's how you tell a real fairy tale, nerds.
Dear nerds.
If you would like a more expanded version of how to tell a fairy tale, read Roverandom. It's longer than his academic essay. I really can't emphasize how surprisingly long this book is, because like you can just kind of go through what he lays out as a proper fairy story and just check off the list in Roverandom. Like the first thing he says is there has to be some form of arresting strangeness. A dog biting the pants off of a wizard and getting turned into a toy is pretty strange. Like, it sounds like something a child would cook up, which is fantastic, and that does like really pull you into you're in the metaphorical and later in the story probably literal realm of fairy. Like it gets weird right off the bat, like a good fairy story. And, you know, you have your eucatastrophe, which is the point of, like, you know, the whole on fairy story essay. That's the part everybody loves. And it's surprisingly kind of low key. Like, there is a big climax involving the Ouroboros serpent, probably. But that's not, like, the climax of the story. There's still, like, probably half that chapter left, because seriously, this book is so long. Like, I really can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
You get halfway through it and you're like, we're almost... Why are there so many pages? Is there like a big story about how it was?
Well, last time I read it in Perilous Realms, I'm like, we're almost done, right? And then I check, I'm like, we've only at like the halfway point.
We got a little ways to go.
Yeah. It was worth
and then the audiobook.
I believe it. Yeah.
And not those small New England states. We're talking right-sized southern states.
So in the audiobook, it's even weirder because you get the little, it introduces you with the little dog bark, and then you don't, like, I didn't realize that when I first listened to it in the audiobook that, like, it had chapters. Because it just trails off. You're like, oh, that's the end of the story. And then it starts with the dog bark again. I'm like, what is going on? And it does it 5 times. To the point that I was like, okay, is this the end? Like, I'm waiting for another dog.
I'm getting gaslit by an audiobook.
Oh, man.
That feels about right, yeah.
It's interesting that... you know, the children's book that he's remembered for, that Tolkien's remembered for, is The Hobbit. And it's amazing how, like, The Hobbit is a much more grounded fairy tale than this book, than Roverandom, you know. despite The Hobbit having talking trolls and dragons and a magic ring.
This has a dragon too.
Yes. But I mean, like, despite those things, The Hobbit seems still
more
sort
realistic.
of taking place, in a world where not anything can just happen. Whereas in Roverandom, it really seems like anything could. The laws of causality are seemingly breaking down.
Are you trying to tell me in your world eclipses aren't caused by a dragon causing trouble?
That dratted creature.
Right, yeah. But it's amazing, yeah. Like, and it maintains that whimsy and childlike quality, like the way a child would intuit like what a real world thing like an eclipse is caused by. They're not gonna care about like the scientific reasons. They're just gonna be like, oh, of course a dragon is trying to eat the moon or something like that. Like it just, like, and there's a beauty in that kind of way of thinking that sees the world as far more wondrous than just like the cold hard facts about it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Tolkien's child, it's, well, the Saxons did it, obviously.
And we were talking before we recorded, actually, about the white dragon and its significance as a symbol of the Saxons in the Arthurian mythos. And I think the story even references it,
yes.
Where Tolkien's
because
like,
it's a Tolkien story, he stops the story dead to be like, all right, let's talk about King Arthur for like 3 pages.
Yes, this is the white
you
dragon
understand.
who fought the red dragon of the Welsh and all of that. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Like, you just know he was like, what about the dragon? Well, the dragon is, of course, the Saxons. Now, the Saxons, you well know, they were the enemies of King Arthur. They were defeated at the Battle of Baden Hill. But, of course, in order to build King Vortigern's cat, what does this have to do with the dog? We'll get there when we get there.
He goes into, like, professor mode. But, yeah, like, it... maybe its dreamlike quality is, like, one of the reasons why the publisher was like, this is good, but can you actually do a sequel to The Hobbit, though?
This is great, but I noticed there are no hobbits. What if there were
arguably could the
hobbits?
boy be?
A little boy too is a hobbit.
I see no evidence otherwise.
I mean, it strikes me to be
A bit of a shrink, maybe.
But there are, because Tolkien cannot help himself, there are deep cut like references to his larger legendarium in this book. Just like he explains in one of his letters how the Hobbit was supposed to be completely separate initially from his elvish legendarium, yet he couldn't keep himself from inserting characters from it into the Hobbit, like Elrond. He mentions like the Noldor at one point, even the Necromancer. He hadn't settled on the name Sauron yet, but he knew that the Necromancer was a figure from his extended Silmarillion legendarium, the Book of Lost Tales and all of that. So like he's like, oh, the Hobbit basically got, like Galactus
grafted.
eating a planet. The Hobbit was like just consumed by the legendarium. So like
I was going to go with Omicron, but okay, Galactus works.
yeah.
I was just going to say cameo appearances, but okay.
Right. But in any case, like there are, at least the one that stands out is, and I didn't really know that this was a cameo until I read last year the Book of Lost Tales, and it's kind of the proto Silmarillion. It's like early drafts of what would become the first part of the Silmarillion. The great whale Uin is in the Book of Lost Tales. He's just lifted kind of wholesale.
Just sticks him right in the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean.
Right, yeah. Did anybody else catch that, or was it?
I caught it because I had literally, like, I have the Book of Lost Tales on my phone. I paused reading it to read a different, easier to read series because sometimes even my brain needs a break. So when I'm panic reading Roverandom because I forgot when we were recording,
There's a reason it's
which is why, there's a reason I kept focusing on that because I'm like, oh, we're recording in 2 hours. I need to read this book. Why is it still going? Oh God, I'm not gonna finish in time. And like, you're like, wait a minute, Uwe, I know that the whale that hauls the island. Oh, the almost what? No, that can't possibly be. Googling it later. Yep, same whale. Okay. Oh.
Well, and the funniest part about your story, Robert, is that you did that for the last recording, not this one.
Yes. Yeah. No, I panic read for a completely unrelated story. I want to make that clear so that everybody can laugh at me because I kind of deserve it. What I actually caught first was, I think it's like even in the same paragraph. They're exploring, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's Elven Home over there." And I'm like, "Hold up, I know that name. That's a name for Valinors." And like, you kind of go back, and this paragraph is just like, how many references to my own legendarium can I squeeze in as rapid succession as possible? And the answer is more than you think.
Wait a minute, he's talking about Blonde on tuna. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's the part I kind of honestly love about this, as well as some of the other things places he does this, is because you can't really, it's hard to reconcile this into the obviously the rest of the Tolkien's Legendarium. You're not really meant to, I don't think, right? But you are right. He can't help but put things the rest of his he loves in it. It's like there's a draw in the professor to do this, and I just find that kind of fun. I think it adds to the whimsy of the story, as I was commenting on, right?
Yeah.
My initial thoughts, when I was early on, I look at these things, I always like, how does this connect? How does it connect? It's like, I'd say, stop. It doesn't. Don't try.
Right, so you're saying the Mer people in this story are not the same ones that we meet in Narnia? Because you're not going to convince me of that one. They're the same.
I mean,
considering that in Narnia they do talk about Numenor.
Yes.
Not only do they talk about Numenor, he very obliquely.
Oh no, that was the Space Trilogy.
Space Trilogy. Space Trilogy.
Yeah, Numenor.
Narnia does reference specifically the Hobbit in like the most hilariously oblique way imaginable, because Lewis is just as big a nerd as Tolkien. So like, yeah, they might be.
I love in the beginning of That Hideous Strength, where like Lewis just writes, and if you would like to know more about Numenor and the true West, you must read the upcoming stuff of my friend J.R.R. Tolkien,
who is definitely not the main character of this book. It's an unrelated philologist from Oxford.
Yes.
Now I do have to say, Father Bryan, we can definitely relate this to the Legendarium because we are living the Legendarium right now.
Correct.
We're just like in the umpteenth age of
the ninth age or something like that.
Seventh age. We're in the seventh age of man.
Age of Middle Earth. Yep.
And so
the final. So Roverandom is clearly the talking fox from Lord of the Rings in this essay.
Right, yeah.
Too far.
But yeah, it's interesting how like the Legendarium has this magnetic quality where even completely unrelated works that are meant to be completely unrelated, just have references to it, like the shadow, we have the shadowy, like you said, Robert, like there's this one paragraph where you like references the shadowy seas, the great bay of Elvenholm, the mountains of Valinor, and all that stuff, and I'm just like, whoa, okay, like, and it's just kind of offhand. He doesn't linger on it,
it's just there.
Yeah, it's just there.
Okay, so he's been working on the Legendarium since like 1915, 1960, like
16,
middle of
yeah.
World War One.
Mm-hmm.
And he continues working on it, fiddling with it, like basically until his death. When something is that consuming, like it's gonna sneak into everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll start making references to D&D campaigns I'm doing if I have to spend too long on this session. I can't imagine spending my life on one thing. Like, you would basically have to reference it, if only to work out, like, so geographically, so Valinor's in the mountains. The ocean would be down here. What about a dog? Oh, right, dog. There's a serpent in the bottom of the sea. Like,
I mean, if you read like The Nature of Middle Earth, one of the newer collections that has come out, he goes into an insane amount of like math calculations to figure out how long it would take the elves to march from Cuiviénen to Valinor. And I'm like, was this necessary, man? You don't need to have done that. Or like, you know, how does the elvish lifespan work? And I'm like, okay, like, you know, like he makes spreadsheets of this stuff. And I'm like, oh,
And
like,
Dear nerds.
the cool,
I mean,
yeah,
from King Nerd.
like,
the cool
yeah,
thing
like, yeah, go ahead.
the cool thing I like about it, I was reading the part that I got bogged down in the Nature of Middle Earth. I think was about talk about not the lifespan, but the life parts of the elves, the various places. I got so bogged down in that. But I think when you look at that, all this intense detail that Tolkien puts into everything, it like intense detail. You can still see it's done to be at service of the whimsy, especially in things like this, right? And that's, I think you can see the notion of how Tolkien mind works. It's like, because a person can legit say, how does knowing specifically how many years are in a year of the trees and how that references all this other stuff, which is all referenced in Nature of Middle Earth, how does that have any impact upon the importance of the story? So, well, we might think it doesn't, but for Tolkien, the world has to make sense. It has to work in itself, right? And there's a certain beauty that then becomes a service to the whimsy.
Right. It becomes a true sub-creation.
Yeah.
Where he's
and
like,
I think that's the part of fairy that doesn't always come out in other aspects of fairy things that Tolkien doesn't write, from other authors. That is very reminiscent and true for Tolkien's works, right? And obviously, that's not always clear here in Roverandom necessarily, but I think it's at the background very, very thorough. And when he draws in these other parts of the Legendarium, I think that's in part of his mind, I would think.
I will say, like, as a writer myself who dabbles in fantasy world building, I've noticed in my own writing that there is that tendency for there's one setting that ends up consuming all of the others. That if I try to create a separate one, it just ends up in the orbit of like the main setting. And I'm like, no, stop. I wanted that to be separate. No, oh, well. And then I just give up and be like, I'll just let it happen. You know, like I'll find a way to incorporate that stuff. It's happening anyway. Yeah.
I think so. One of the things that kind of, the more I think about it, the more I like keep circling this. Roverandom seems like it's kind of, I mean, it is in fact whimsical, but I use the phrase for the moment. I use the phrase it's whimsical in kind of a derogatory sense of it does seem like the kind of thing like a kid would think up. But it's Tolkien. Like, I guarantee, even as he's spinning this off the top of his head, he's forcing it to stay internally consistent. Mm-hmm. And if this is a fairy story, it follows the rules of fairy, which are not necessarily our rules. So of course, a seagull can fly to the moon. How else does he deliver the mail? Like, there is an underlying logic. It's just not one we're familiar with. And that really does add to the non-derogatory sense of whimsy. Like, it does give it that, as Tolkien loves to quote, it does give it that arresting strangeness, which tells you of like, no, this is real, but it's not real in like a materialist way. This is a fairy story. This tells us truths, and that truth is apparently, please do not lose your toy dog. It will go through so much to get back to you.
Well,
also, seagulls are evil.
I mean, that goes without saying. Yeah,
very true. I agree.
Well, they so the thing with it being like the fairy tale, right? Each of the magical realms, being the earth, the moon, and the sea, each has its own ruler. Each has its own rover. Each has its own like adventures with dangers and wonder. You get its own. I mean, this short story is a very long story because of these short stories within it, and so there is an underlying like the order to the chaos, which is kind of cool. And then I think you could see how Tolkien probably used this story to help teach his children. You know, you look at the dog, and the dog is very impatient, can't even use the word please. He's very rude, very impulsive, very proud. And through his adventures, he learns humility, he learns patience, he learns gratitude, he learns how to apologize, and grows as a character. And I could I could see him sitting by the bedside and be like, hey, I'm going to tell you about this story because you need to learn a little bit more about humility here. You need to learn a little bit about patience. Like, he uses to obviously to cheer up his son and make his son feel better about this dog that he lost. And that kid would have been absolutely heartbroken, but using it as a chance to edify his children as well. And I think that, again, that's what part of what makes this story wonderful and makes Tolkien just that much of a good father.
And he does all that without being like preachy or like talking down to the kids or like being didactic. You know, it teaches those lessons without stopping and saying like, hey, it's time to teach you about patience, or it's time to teach you about, like, it's just a natural outgrowth of the story.
I think when you begin to see what these things are saying, right, that things that Tolkien obviously believed, how myth in this way can relate truth, right, in a really real way. And I think that's the kind of thing that we've I can't say lost, but kind of gotten away from and lost in the modern world. Or we have a very scientific view of truth, which is true and good. But truth is obviously bigger than only that. It includes scientific truth, but it's bigger than that, obviously, right? And I think that's something that Tolkien obviously was very, very real and very true for Tolkien.
Yeah, it definitely is a story that communicates truth, in a way that, yeah, and I think that's why we were saying how like it's internally consistent. It has the internal consistency of something that's true. It's not despite being like, a children's story or some, like it's not sheer nonsense or anything like that,
Yeah, and what's really cool, he still brings in his whimsical language with the different names, like Samathos with a P and then without a P, and the P is only to please the sand sorcerer, but it's he's a sand wizard, and the name itself means sand. In Greek. And then Artaxerxes is the name of a bunch of Persian kings, and they make fun of the fact that he's from Persia.
Right, but he never goes there. He just he's on holiday, and they're just like
it's just, you can see he's really funny with the names, all the different dogs, how he interrupts his own self in that.
There's some of that in The Hobbit, too, where the narrator will interject and kind of comment, like do this meta commentary on the story.
And Bomber, who was very fat.
Right, like the constant fat jokes against Bomber, like...
He's the only dwarf who gets it's Thorin who is the king, dwarves, and Bomber who is very fat. Like, what you read it out loud, and once you start noticing it, you're just like, Ed, he's coming up. I know he's coming. There it is, Bomber who is very fat. And I know he's doing it because it's making the kids giggle because I'm a full-grown adult and it makes me giggle. And it's such a great way of telling the story because it's clearly meant to be read aloud. Like a lot of books you read nowadays are meant to be, you read it like a book. You sit there quietly, you imagine the words in your head, and you go along. But a lot of these old books, especially from Tolkien's time and further back, are intended to be read aloud, and they come to life when you do it. It's Roverandom is fun to read, but I caught myself muttering it under my breath because it's fun to read.
Yes.
And it's just so much better that way because you do kind of fall into that. And not the other dog, Rova, not the sea dog, the regular dog. Things like that. Or the one that sticks out into my head because it's in the second to last chapter because this book is so long. Is just how often the mermaids keep ragging on the wizard. They're once he puts the sea serpent to sleep, and they're all like, "You can leave whenever you want. Actually, let me help you pack." No, don't worry, I've already done it for you. You can leave whenever you want. This goes on for a page and a half.
Well, and then Artaxerxes himself kind of has character growth because at the end, he's like, all right, Roverandom, I accept your apology. Let's get out of here.
We should leave.
And then he takes his wife up and they go to the sea. And then he's like, oh, crap, I left all my magic below the sea. And his wife's like, no, you don't.
No, don't worry. I got this one for you. Turn him back.
And it reminds me of there's a Bluey episode when we did Secrets of Bluey and 2 years ago now, where there's an episode of Bluey where Bandit goes and he wants to take the kids out swimming, and he's like, let's go, because the kids are like, everything's boring, and he's like, yeah, let's not deal with that boring stuff. And then he goes and he's like, oh, well, you can't go into the sun because we forgot sunscreen. Oh, you can't do this because of this. You can't do this. And they're like, okay, we're just sitting in this corner now in the water and we can't do anything. And then he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't bring anything. Then mom comes by and helps, here's your sunscreen, here's your floaties, here's everything you need, because that's what moms do. That's what my wife does. She helps make sure I don't screw up too much.
Maybe I'm overthinking it, but why do dogs need sunscreen?
You're overthinking it.
Because it's Bluey.
You're overthinking it, yeah, definitely.
So the dogs represent the Saxons, and what you need to understand.
Okay.
There's blue ones and there's red ones.
What did you
there must
think
be
of
the Picts? Never mind.
Oh, the Picts. So, what did you think of the different? Clearly, the story's divided into 3 different realms, basically, the quote unquote real world. Even though it has wizards, sand wizards in it and stuff, but then there's the moon.
That's not real.
Yeah, right. I guess it could be. We'll petition Jimmy Aiken to do sand wizards on Mysterious World.
I mean, it doesn't.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, it doesn't become real until you tick off a wizard. Then it gets real quick.
Then it gets real.
Yeah. But you have the regular world, even though they do mention the world is flat.
Yeah.
Yes.
In this, so the world is flat because that's how we get to the moon. They go over the edge of the world. So you have the world, the moon, and under the sea, which is basically its own realm.
And this is clearly, I mean, this is proto Hobbit. This is proto Lord of the Rings, right? So he was toying with his legendarium and hasn't yet made the world round yet. So
Right.
of course it's flat still.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He hasn't even gotten to the boat yet. Yes, at one point, Tolkien's Legendarium took place on a boat. It was amazing. It's a horrible idea.
Yeah, where the world was
he
a
had the
giant
whole
ship.
diagram.
Yeah.
Which is why these seagulls can fly to the moon. See, it all makes sense if you know the context.
Mm-hmm. Like, did anyone?
I'm just glad the moon wasn't made of cheese.
Yeah,
I personally am impressed with his restraint. Like, I absolutely would have done that to like my 6-year-old child. Yeah, of course the moon's made of cheese.
What's amazing is that he creates an entire lunar ecosystem. Because of course he does, of like life for animals and insect life and plants and all of this stuff. And I'm like, wow, you could have just said like it was, but again, that adds to the kind of, I don't know, just it's almost gratuitous, but you wouldn't have it any other way. You know, it just adds to the like the words we've been saying, you know, the whimsy and enchantment of the moon as its own distinct place, you know, and then being under the sea.
One thing I think that you're going back to here, we talked about this a little bit ago, is this notion of subcreation, right? And even though this doesn't necessarily, adding this ecosystem isn't something that his son was really going to catch right in the moment, given how old his son was at the time. I think it shows the importance of subcreation, the importance of this reality for Tolkien as an author and as a man, right? And how the story, it must make sense in itself, right? Why? Because this is what would happen if this was real in this world.
Right.
And I think that's what adds the flavor, the Tolkien flavor of Roverandom and other stories that aren't directly tied to the Lord of the Rings, but adds the Tolkienian flavor to what he's doing. Obviously, the catastrophe is a huge part of that as well, but you can see that very strongly. And I think it's a service of the fairy, but I think it also makes the truth that's trying to be expressed much more real. And I think it makes it easier for a person to accept that, if that makes any sense, right? The truth and the message that's trying to be brought out. That's why I love this kind of stories from Tolkien. Though they have a special place in my heart, I should say.
Yeah, it really does. This story reveals the side, as we mentioned before, the side of Tolkien that we don't really see in Lord of the Rings. Everyone knows Lord of the Rings. Everyone knows The Hobbit. Some people know the Silmarillion. And some people know Rings of Power, which isn't really Tolkien. And
some people know about an elf.
See our previous episode. Wow. Wow, that was
different podcast.
Didn't think we were going to make it in, did you?
I was heading there, Patrick. I was trying.
I was prepared to sneak it in with the mermaid and the wizard, but that works too, I guess. You know, as long as we get paid, that's all that matters.
But yeah, he's a good, playful father that is making up this fairy story, and it's a beautiful thing just to see and to be a part of. And it's sad that it took until 1998 to get published. Like, this should have been published way beforehand.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know that at the time they were just like, The Hobbit was really lucrative. We want that sequel. And so I understand why but you'd think after the mega bash success of The Lord of the Rings, they would have been eager to publish anything else he had. Just, you know, like,
well, and 2 decades after his death, and this is published. I mean, what was it? This year we got the Bavarian Fragments, which that was a very interesting book and very academic. I don't know if anyone else read it, but
no,
that's definitely not a book to do a podcast on.
I don't care. I can sum it up for you. I don't like automobiles.
Pretty much. Yes. Except that's only a third of the book. And then 2/3 of the book is the history of Oxford.
Oh, no, that makes sense.
It's Tolkien. Like eventually, yeah, of course he would.
But I mean, it's a funny because it's a funny third of the book. But then it's like, why? Like when I rented it, in Michigan we have what's called Melcat, where we can request books from any library in the state.
Mhm.
And so when I requested it, I got it back. I was like, oh, this is from the university. I think it was the University of Michigan or Michigan State University. And I was like, why is it in that section? This is a weird section for that to be in. Like, oh, because this is an academic book. This is not a playful book, but okay. But yeah, I mean, I guess they're just trying to squeeze as much money out of him as possible throughout. And, you know, he's going to be doing this until he's 90. I mean, until he's
podcast, Rob.
It's just weird they waited so long to do that.
So when Christopher was around, he was rather protective of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's not.
You know, as I was listening to this book again on audio, I was thinking about, like, okay, this story is almost ripe for a specific kind of film adaptation. As I was visualizing what this would look like, I'm like, this story needs to be handed to one of those studios who does the stop motion characters.
Yeah.
You know, like Kubo and the Two Strings or something like that, or like
Wallace and
Guillermo
Gromit.
del Toro's Pinocchio. Something. This would look great as a stop motion animated movie.
I was thinking the Studio Ghibli movies.
I was thinking early 90s Disney, back when they had artistic integrity. But
See, my daughter desperately wants a comic book version of this.
Yeah,
that could work. Like, this is a good animated movie. Like, if they try to do this quote unquote live action,
No.
it's going to lose the magic because it's too weird in a really fun way. Like,
Right.
the animation will keep the unreality of this, like, series.
Yes.
And after that, it's just like, and you can't even do like a super realistic style. Like, Guillermo del Toro, I think, would actually do a really good job with it, because that dude does weird stuff. And
if you've seen his Pinocchio, you know, that gets pretty weird.
Yeah,
you know? And it is also just looks great as stop motion animated, you know, like.
Yeah. Hey, well, somebody needs to put this into a screenwriter's hands and get the rights somehow. And
I mean, my problem is that it's like I know in my head that this would be perfect for that, but I just know they'd find a way. They always nowadays, you know.
They already have a mermaid and a wizard.
You don't need an elf and a dwarf.
No, but it's like they'd find a way to, like, make it not as good. Although, you know, actually thinking of this, like, you know, Guillermo del Toro might be the perfect person to adapt. He was originally going to do The Hobbit.
And I still dream about, like, what we would have gotten. Like, I have his set photos saved on my phone, and I just stare at him and wish, because like that, it would have been so good. Because he's willing to be weird. He's willing to be kind of offbeat. He's willing to give, like, something its own unique visual language. And this is something that, when you think Tolkien, you don't think this story. Like, it's not in the Tolkien, like, it's not really in the voice. Although if you went from this straight to The Hobbit, you're like, okay, these two are contiguous. It's not grand. It's not epic. It's kind of goofy and a little silly, and it's just a fun little kid story. Like, you need to approach it like what it is. This is a children's tale. It can be a little weird. Like, This is a great Bakshi movie, actually. Like, if you had gotten Ralph Bakshi to do this, he would do it. Like, this is the kind of movie he would do. This
with rotoscoping.
100 non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. You have to rotoscope everything. I don't know how you're going to strap seal legs onto a dog, but he's going to find a way. I wouldn't recommend watching the behind the scenes of it.
They did not get the Humane Society stamp of approval.
Right, yeah. Oh, poor Rover.
It was the 70s. It was a different time.
So yeah, do we have what have we missed? Is there anything else we can point to in this story in terms of, like, major themes or anything that we haven't touched on yet?
To link it to the Legendarium, no, seriously, do not meddle in the affairs of wizards, for they are subtle and will turn you into a toy.
Yeah.
I believe he changed the last part to something slightly more poetic, but I mean, I love that this is such a Tolkien story, because in it we have the weirdness of, like, dog turns into dog toy with all the requisite, like, strangest tiny barks, can't run very far, all that. Is terrified of the cat, totally convinced the cat's going to eat him, so he can't go home. Oblique references to English myth. Norse snake, because I can never remember what the stupid snake's name
Nordhog or Nidhogg.
Or is it Jormungandr?
Oh, yeah. It could be either.
Jormungandr, that's it.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here for an hour going, what was the name of the stupid snake?
There's two, and they do different things.
Yeah. No, the Jormungandr, the world serpent.
Yes.
Welsh dragon. This is so over the map, and it just kind of shows you, like, what Tolkien's brain must have been like if he can connect all these things together into a semi-coherent story. Also, there's spiders on the moon. Good, have a good night.
Yeah, that was terrifying, actually.
Yeah, I got to that part and I was like, I really hope this is a fast part, because I don't like moon spiders. This is creepy.
But hey,
really
they're all
like
far away.
spiders.
They're far away in the moon.
They're on the dark
here.
side, which means as long as I don't listen to any Pink Floyd, I'm safe.
No, there were the light side spiders were scared of the dark side spiders because the dark side ones were bigger.
Oh,
That's
God.
true.
Oh, no. Well, that no. Oh.
But I love the fact that there is.
And then the dark side spider found the hole that goes between the moon, or inside the moon,
And was violently ejected. But told, no, not for you. Because wizards are not that subtle, actually.
I love the fact that the Earth is flat and the moon is flat, but there's still a light and dark side of the moon.
I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense, right?
No,
it's just a disc floating up there.
right.
What's that shadowy place? That's the dark side. You must never go there. Hang on, let's go to the dark side.
The domain of evil it is.
Yes. Yeah, it's just such. It's one of those stories that you're like, especially if you've immersed yourself in the Legendarium significantly, you can think, man, this is just does not sound like Tolkien. It's, kind of strange or weird. But you read some of the other works he's done, especially the Father Christmas letters, or you just happen to read that section in The Hobbit when Tom Bombadil shows up. Or not The Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings. And
Lord of the Rings, yeah.
And you're like, oh, I could just see Roverandom like running up to Tom Bombadil. It's like, oh, hey, my dog. We had this adventure. Could spin a tail about like this.
I'm surprised that I'm honestly surprised that Tom Bombadil didn't have his own rover.
Yeah.
I was really expecting that to be chapter 5. I was like, if he doesn't get back to the kid, it's going to be Tom Bombadil. Like, something's going to
Rings of
happen.
Power, season 3.
Oh no!
Didn't he have that like lamb as a pet in season 2?
Yeah, so it's actually a very fluffy dog.
Yeah.
It's one of the Man in the Moon sheep.
Yeah, it probably is, But
No,
then
it didn't have wings.
No, oh, that's right. Yeah, didn't win. But then, like, yeah, it's almost like Tom Bombadil's kind of the reverse of Rover, right? Because he started out as a toy that Tolkien fleshed out a whole life and existence for his children, and he was a doll.
Well, I think that's very parallel.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and that's did Tom Bombadil come before Roverandom?
Yeah. I think Tom was like a very early invention, but I don't think he got grafted onto the Legendarium until the Lord of the Rings.
Maybe the Great Polar Bear was also a toy, and
I mean, I could see because I feel like in the Perilous Realms, was it the Song of Tom Bombadil or the Adventures of Tom Bombadil are part of that?
Yeah.
They come right after Roverandom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it comes after the Farmer Giles.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Or Giles. Giles. I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways. I don't know.
English.
Tom Bombadil beats Roverandom by 3 years.
Okay.
Tom Bombadil first appears in 1934. Roverandom is penned in 1937. So actually, they could have been right around the same time. Like he could have gotten
37?
He could have been
27.
Well, Roverandom was like initially the story was invented in the 20s, but he doesn't write it down until later.
Yes, was not penned until 1937.
Right.
So we're right around the same time. So he might have been like,
well, no, because he submitted it in 1936 to be published.
Okay, now I got to double check all my sources here.
I guess all were clear that the fall of Gondolin came first. He wrote that while he was recuperating from the war.
Right. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Submitted for publication in 1937.
Yeah.
Okay. Supposedly, like, told it in 1927. And then a couple years later, like, submitted it for public or all the everything else.
No, for a story that's 100 years old, it's a good story.
It's incredible. Yeah.
One thing that you can look at when you look at these things like Tom Bombadil, which, by the way, I love Tom Bombadil. I always have. He's one of my favorite characters. I love Tom. My heart goes out to Tom. But the
Rings of Power, Tom, right?
If he ever shows up in Rings of Power, yeah, probably, maybe. He's gonna have to take out that other guy, though.
The posture. I'm going to recommend our listeners go and listen to that podcast and know my comments on that.
Right, yeah. Referencing previous show. Yeah.
But when you look at Tom and you look at like the similarities and the whimsicalness of Tom and the similarities with this story and like the seeming ridiculousness of some things that happen, right? And you see, again, you see, I think, an early notion, I guess not early, because Fall Gondolin was written or before this, right? But the notion of like, you see these early points of what the purpose of fairy, right? And I think that's a good place to go back to. It's like, it's relaying truth, but it's relaying truth in a way that is more, there's more joy, I think you can say, that than he was experiencing in the world at the time. And it's meant to transport you to that, to a certain level, to that joy and to that like whimsicalness, right? I know I said that a number of times today, but it's just so important for me when you look at this. So I'm a historian by trade. In addition to being priest, I do both. And cool. So looking at the background here, you can see the horror of that time period. And then Tolkien didn't let that really affect him in the way it obviously would have, but it did let him take him down, didn't let him destroy the reality of what fairy is supposed to do. I think Roverandom is a perfect example of that, honestly.
And I was thinking too about, A.A. Milne, who was also of that generation, saw horrible things in World War I. And then he goes and writes Winnie the Pooh, which is the most wholesome, whimsical thing you can imagine. I think some of the artists of that generation really consciously made the decision to counter the horror that they witnessed with this beauty and whimsy.
And that's where Narnia even came up with, like, and both at the Battle of Somme, right? And I just finished Mythmakers, so
Yes.
We'll get there.
Coming up in a future episode, by the way, Mythmakers. Fantastic
Which,
book.
again, that is a surprisingly long book for being
a children's book.
comic-ish.
It's a comic.
It's like a comic
Graphic
book
novel.
nonfiction hybrid.
Yeah.
And really, I'll say that book really inspired me as like someone who writes for nonfiction for kids to really up my game. Actually, I was like, this is very impressive. But that's we'll save that for a future episode. Why don't we wrap it up here? I guess where we've been talking for more than an hour about the adventures of a toy dog, which is, again, just love Roverandom. So do you guys have any parting thoughts before we wrap up? What about it, Pat?
Not really. I mean, I think we covered most of it, or at least most of it that I can remember. That's probably the story we got.
Yep. What do you think, Rob?
I just remember to say your pleases.
Yes. Yeah.
And don't bother with wizards.
Yep. Do not meddle in the trousers of wizards. Robert, what do you think?
Just one more note of all of the women in this story, are unequivocally the voice of reason. Like, the whole thing is wrapped up because Princess Pam is like, no, the counterspell is in your pocket. Use it. Send this poor dog home.
The ring is still in your pocket, Bilbo. It's like...
But like the good version of that.
Right, yeah. What do you think, Father Bryan?
I think, as I've said a number of times, I keep going back to this, but it's what resonates in my heart. It's a reminder to me in all the horror exists in times and the struggles and the good and the bad. It's a reminder to not forget the whimsy, to not delve too far from that, and the truth that can be brought there, and the joy that can come. And as disciples of Christ, the joy that comes from the gospel, right? The whimsy that God implanted in us, right? So it's a reminder to me to go there.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great note to end it on. But before we go, we do have some feedback. I believe on our recent episodes because we've had, with new panelists, we've had people give their thoughts on things like Rings of Power and other stuff. So we have some listener feedback. This first one is from YouTube, and so I wasn't on this episode, so I may be missing some context here for this piece of feedback. But Fear 1554 on YouTube says, as a fellow Rob who once helped run and build a Tolkien mud, this caught my eye. So what does that mean? Am I missing something?
A mud is a multi-user dungeon. It is... oh, no, we're going back to the Commodore 64 days. Oh, yeah, very old school.
Okay.
He basically used to write or run his own video game, but I mean, we're talking like text-based Zork style stuff. So like not what you're thinking. Think more, you've been eaten by a troll.
Gru.
I thought it had something to do with video games, but I just wasn't sure. So, but yeah, no, that's really cool. And then we have this other feedback. So some guy called Jeff Hecker. Never heard of him. But
I think he was a panelist at one point. He doesn't do very much anymore, though.
I tried to get him on, but he forgot to read the book.
Wasn't he the Nick Fury of SQPN?
Yeah. Yes.
Before he got replaced by a scroll, yeah.
His presence is felt everywhere, right?
Yes, yeah. But anyway, Jeff has a message for us. Welcome, Father Bryan, to the podcast. I agree with a lot of your discussion. Elrond, Durin, and Disa is some of the strongest stuff, along with Numenor. He's talking about Rings of Power, obviously. The Harfoot story was my least favorite, with a few good moments. I was a Halbrand is Sauron denier, but only because I didn't want it to happen. Hopefully, the Saruman, Dark Blue Wizard storyline goes somewhere. I look forward to the continuing Numenor storyline with Witch Kemen of Angmar and King Otheo Breaker, the Dwarven Game of Thrones and Khazad-dûm. I think the show will do the War of Sauron and the Elves this season, a Akalabeth in season 4, and then end with the Last Alliance in season 5. Actually, my thoughts pretty harmonize very well with Jeff's. And I think that's where they're going, but what that'll look like is another matter. And I still have to listen to that episode, by the way. I haven't gotten around to it, but I'm sure it's a blast. Getting a lot of new voices on the Rings of Power stuff. And I think it's summer, right? So if San Diego Comic-Con hasn't started yet, it's going to happen soon, I guess, as we record this. It's the first week in July, so I assume that Comic-Con's coming up. So maybe we'll get a trailer. We'll see. And if we do get a trailer, maybe we'll do an episode breaking down whatever madness it reveals. But until then, that's it for this episode of The Secrets of Middle-earth. But before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons who have made this show possible, including Tim H., Joey S., Ruslan P., Alexander M., and A.S. Their generous donations help us to continue to create The Secrets of Middle-earth and all of the shows here at StarQuest. You can join them at GiveStarQuest.com. Be sure to follow The Secrets of Middle-earth in Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, or any podcast directory or app. You can follow us on social media at Facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X, where we are at SQPN, and on Instagram, where we are at StarQuest Network. And don't forget to grab your own official Secrets of Middle-earth merch, including our really cool t-shirt at SQPN.com/merch. It's a great way to support our show and to display your love for J.R.R. Tolkien and his wonderful world of Middle-earth. So now we'd like to hear from you, our listeners. Have you read Roverandom? Are you going to read it? What do you guys think? You can let us know on our Facebook page, on all our social media pages. You can send us an email at middleearth@sqpn.com if that's your thing. You can leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify, or you can always visit our channel on the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord for lots of fun there. And join us next time for another adventure in the wonderful world of Middle-earth. And until then, Father Bryan, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Middle-earth.
Glad to be here.
And Robert Story, thank you as well.
Now fly off and amuse yourselves. Don't worry the moonbeams, and don't kill my white rabbit.
I'll try. I'll certainly try. Rob Leonardi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Thomas. It's time for me to go visit the dark side of the moon.
And Patrick Mason, thank you for taking the straight road and appearing on our podcast tonight. It was great to have you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Someday I'll travel as fast as Mew. Mach 78.
And until next time, I'm your host, Thomas Salerno. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Middle-earth on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Movies. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/secrets.